This Hollow Knight Silksong series covers how to do all quests and missable content in order so that all rewards, endings, and achievements can be obtained. For best results, follow this series from the start of part 1. There will be spoilers in the form of important information, and as usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. We left off at the start of Act 3, Abyss, just after getting back to Songclave. This first step is for players that have been holding off getting a Quill. We can now move down into Whispering Vaults to grab the purple Quill near the stage. There's a void mass along the way that everyone should defeat, as we need to defeat 12 of these for a mask shard. Next, the first Shrine Ventrica is blocked, so we'll need to head over west and use the Ventrica in High Halls first. We can go to the first Shrine Ventrica to clear the debris, then move to the Grand Bellway. When we attempt to call the Bell Beast, a new boss will emerge instead. We can equip our Volt Vessel spears and then follow it down. Charged attacks from the side are pretty effective for damaging the Bell Eater. The Volt Vessel spears are also really nice at damaging it when it emerges from the ceiling. After defeating the Eater, we will be instructed by the Bell Beast on how to play the Beastling Call, which can bring us to our last used Bellway from almost any location. Combining this with bench warping will streamline travel in Act 3. Next, let's go to Xylitol in the Wormways and complete the Advanced Alchemy quest. We can do this by extracting plasmified blood from the same plasmid just beneath the bench, running back to the bench to rest before doing it again. After getting a total of 10 samples, we can return to Xylitol for the Plasmium Gland, which allows us to refill our Plasmium vials with just shell shards. This makes the Plasmium Architect build much easier to upkeep, as we won't need to make trips back to Xylitol to refill our reserve. Now let's unlock the major traversal ability for Act 3, Silksong. We'll start by going to the ruined chapel in Moss Grotto, which should now be opened. After speaking with the shamans inside, our main objective will be updated. Before going to the diving bell in Deep Docks, we'll need to speak with Ballo near the Forged Daughter until he moves there himself. On our way down to the bell, we can destroy a second void mass. A new room can be accessed above the diving bell, and speaking with Ballo there will get us the diving bell key. Entering the bell, we will use the intercom to speak with Ballo, then sit in the chair to travel down to the abyss. Next, let's make our way down to the bottom bench of the abyss, grabbing an Arcane Egg artifact along the way. The Abyss map is in a room above the bench. We'll move east after grabbing it, and following a short cutscene, move further up and east to the entrance of Weavenest Absolom. There are 3 things to do here before leaving. First, we can find the Farsight construct over in the top east corner, which will be set up later at our bell home. Next, we can find a console to interact with by moving down and west before going up a small shaft. This will add the Void Tendrils entry to our Hunter's Journal. We'll then move back down into the east, finding the shrine for the Silksong ability at the lowest point of Absolom. We'll then need to make our way out of the abyss, and Silksong is going to provide us with the means of doing so. I recommend equipping the Magma Bell tool before proceeding, as we may take fire damage in an upcoming platforming section. We'll then need to backtrack out of the abyss, going beyond where we initially started by the diving bell. There is a new passage we can go through up and to the west of where the diving bell was. Going through it and the chamber that follows will bring us to the one final bench in the top west corner of the abyss. From here, we'll need to start moving up through a molten platforming section, which will eventually trigger a surge of magma to start rising up. At that point, we'll need to race against the clock, using our Silksong at the very end to escape impending doom. Back on solid ground, we can use Beastling Call to help quickly return to the Shamans in Moss Grotto. After speaking with them, they will teach us the Elegy of the Deep song for the Needlein and provide us with a new objective. Before leaving, we can move east and Silksong into a hidden chamber, then move through it to get the final crest of the game, that of the Shaman. Unlocking all crests will get us the Consumed achievement. After soaring out from there, we can fast travel to Belheart and accept several quests from the Wishboard. Those include Dark Hearts, Fatal Resolve, and Ecstasy of the End. Moving up to our Bell home, we'll construct the Farsight, which allows us to see various stats in the game menus. The most important is the completion percentage, which we need to be at 100 before we can beat the game for completion-related achievements. To that end, we'll soar up from the top of Belheart to get our 19th memory locket, then find the notice nailed to Plinney's door. Our next objective will be to get the final needle upgrade. We can reach Plinney by going to the Shellwood Bellway and moving west, then down the tall vertical chamber. After exiting down, we'll move east, destroying a third void mass, and meet up with Garmond as we move to a new isolated chamber where Plinney is found. After defeating several waves of enemies, we can speak with Plinney so that he returns to his house in Bellheart. Now let's go to Fleetopia to get our last Pale Oil. Before that though, we can use Silksong to reach an isolated chamber up to the east. Interacting with the stone there will allow us to begin the passing of the Age quest, which must be completed for the ultimate ending of Silksong. Returning to Fleetopia, we'll then interact with the leaderboard to see the scores that we must beat for each of 3 Flea minigames. The first is Juggle, and the score to beat is 30. I found Shaman to be the best crest for this, and we must keep each Flea aloft for 3 or on rare occasion 4 consecutive hits before it counts as a point. Side hits work just as well as upward hits. There's also an extra high score to beat later on for a Memento. We don't need to get it for our purposes here, but we may as well go for it as long as we can. That extra high score to beat is 55, so 56 should do it. In any case, once we've at least set the current high score, we can move on to Dodge, where we need to last for at least 66 seconds. The ultimate high score to beat for the Memento is 95 seconds, requiring us to last for 96. And this is the minigame that I like the least. Lastly, we have the Bounce minigame, where we need to stay aloft and pogo off as many fleas as we can before touching the ground. The minimum high score we'll need for the Pale Oil is 43, and the high score that will get us the Memento later on is 69. Once we've gotten at least the current high score for all 3 Flea games, we can speak with Mushka to complete the quest. We will want to make sure we pick up all the rosaries before collecting the Pale Oil, as doing that will cause any unclaimed rosaries to vanish. If you're in need of rosaries, remember that the Arcane Egg we got in the Abyss is worth around 600 rosaries when turned in to Scrounge. We can then exchange the Pale Oil and a large sum of rosaries for Plinney to give us our 4th and final needle upgrade. Now let's complete some steps in the passing of the Age quest so that Mr. Mushroom will be at Mount Fae when we go there for a Mask Shard. The first location we will find Mr. Mushroom at is just east of the ruined chapel. We can play our needle in to summon him, then speak through all of his dialogue before moving to the next location. That's going to be up and east from the Bone Bottom Bellway, where Chakra used to hang out. Our third Mr. Mushroom location is in Far Fields. While we're here, we can upgrade our Curveclaw tool. After equipping it, we'll move to the room above the Far Fields Bellway. If we hit all hanging targets with the same Curveclaw, a Scar Scout should emerge nearby. We can hand over the Curveclaw, fast travel away and back again, then return to this room to get the upgraded variant, the Curvesickle, which deals more damage. We'll then move to the Hoker Cave and go to the spot just up and west of the Weavenest there for our third Mr. Mushroom location. There's also a Shardillard that we can defeat up and to the west of there if we want to complete our Hunter's Journal entry for it. We'll take advantage of the shortcut we opened up in Greymoor a while back to reach Mr. Mushroom's 4th location, which is just below the entrance of Wisp Thicket. Now let's complete the first step in the Fatal Resolve quest so that we can find the Pinstress at Mount Fae when we go there. We'll need to make our way to the Pinstress hut in Blasted Steppes and can destroy our 4th Void Mass along the way. Interacting with the note in Pinstress hut will progress the Fatal Resolve quest to the next step. Before heading there from the Slab Bellway, we can go to where we fought First Sinner and play our needle in at Mr. Mushroom's 5th location. We now have 3 tasks to complete at Mount Fae, and we'll start by using all of our traversals to take an expedited path to one of the benches near the top. After resting at that bench, we'll move back down and through the middle horizontal chamber of Mount Fae. There's a spot in the middle of the frigid lake there that we can silk soar off of to reach a new hidden area. To the west is the Materium entry for Magnetite, and to the east is the entrance to the Brightvein area. Once inside, we'll need to platform our way all the way up to the top, where we can use Silk Soar once more to reach our 17th Mask Shard. We can then bench warp back up the mountain and make our way to the peak. There, we can play our needle in for Mr. Mushroom, but we'll ultimately need to speak with him to progress the quest. That just leaves the Fatal Resolve quest. We should set our spawn point to the bench in the chamber where the Silk Shot is constructed, then move down to the east. I used the Plasmium Architect Crest for this fight, but you can use whatever you like best. The Pinstress can be found collapsed on a small platform below. Once we're ready, we can strike her a few times until she stirs, then speak with her to initiate the duel. Watch out for her charged attack, as I believe it deals 3 masks of damage. Besides that, I found the Architect Crest made defeating her fairly easy. After defeating her, we'll complete the quest and get our final unique tool, the Pin Badge. This thing is great with the Architect Crest, and getting it should also unlock the Arsenal achievement. Now let's get our final Silk skill and also set ourselves up to get all remaining endings once we beat the final Act 3 boss. We'll need to start at Songclave and move up to the west. After passing a Grand Reed, we can use Silksong to get back up into the Cogwork Core, and then move all the way up to the Cradle using Silksong whenever necessary. Once we are back in the Cradle, we can use Silksong to reach new heights for Act 3. This will eventually bring us to the spot that we fought Grandmother Silk at in Act 2. All we will find there now is her severed arm, which we can bind to get our final Silk skill, Pale Nails. This will also get us the Woven achievement. If we Silksong one final time nearby, we'll reach the highest point we've ever gotten to, which will also happen to go off the map, so we won't have access to any map until we leave back out of this area. We will then need to move through an initial platforming section to reach the only bench in this zone. Use whichever crest you like best for platforming, but I found the Plasmium Architect build to be the most forgiving. We'll then need to get through what is supposed to be the base game's most difficult platforming section to reach Mr. Mushroom's final location. If you're going for the True Hunter achievement on this playthrough, then make sure to defeat enough Garpids and Emobas while going through here to complete their journal entries. The Garpids are the centipedes that come out of the walls, and the Emobas are the turtle-like creatures. Also, you'll quickly find out that the key to success in the platforming challenge is the jump, claw line, air jump combo. If you can master that, you should be able to complete this Path of Pain with ease. After the last few painstaking jumps have been completed, we can play our needle in for Mr. Mushroom and speak with him one last time to complete the Passing of the Age quest. This will ensure that we get the corresponding ending and achievement after we defeat the final Act 3 boss. That's a ways off, but for now, let's go up to the surface for a couple more things. First, there is one final journal entry that we can complete while up here for the Skrill. Second, if we go to the Nameless Town and play our needle in, we will receive the surface memento. Once we're finished here, we can make our way to a new passage and open a shortcut that leads directly to the start of this platforming challenge. We'll then need to move on foot the rest of the way out and can use Beastling Call once we reach the spot just below where we obtained the Pale Nail skill. To get our remaining Mask Shards, Memory Locket, and trigger some other important events, we'll need to go get the Hunter's Heart, so let's do that now. Before that though, there is a 5th Void Mask that we can destroy just down and east from the jailhouse in the Marrow. We'll then need to move from the Marrow through Hunter's March and can destroy another Void Mask along the way. The arena near the end of Hunter's March will be revamped with harder opponents for our return visit, so prepare accordingly. Afterwards, we can move further east to the Hunter's March bench. From there, we'll go east and into the room with the stone statue. Silksong will allow us to reach a new passage that eventually opens up a connection with the tall vertical chamber in Far Fields, as well as access to an entirely new area there. We can move our checkpoint to one of the nearby benches if we want, then move east into that new region of Far Fields. There's an optional encounter with Gilly on the path down and east, which ends at the husk of an ancient and enormous bug. Inside, we'll find Sprint Master Swift and must challenge him to a series of races. If we fall off track at any point during a race, we can play our needle in to forfeit and quickly start over. I'll show a single lap from all 3 races we must complete for the fastest in Pharloom quest. Also, if we claw line through the Sprint Master, it will briefly stun him, allowing us to take a nice lead. The first 2 races have decent rewards, but completing the final race is what will get us our 18th Mask Shard. With that done, we can move back out of here and go up to the west. We'll encounter our 7th Void Mass, unlock a shortcut, then Silksong up to a remote bench. This is also where I got the Craw summons item, so be on the lookout for that. The chamber where we get the Hunter's Heart is down to the east, and the Plasmium Architect build is awesome for these memory segments for reasons I will explain shortly. Before that though, we can go east of where the Hunter's Heart is obtained, then defeat a corrupted Scarguard to get our final memory locket. With that, we can fully expand all crests. If you plan on using the Plasmium Architect build, be sure that your shell shards are topped off before playing the Elegy of the Deep for the character in the nearby room. This will ensure that we can craft as much tools as possible while in the memory. Memories are awesome because any shell shards that we use will be restored upon death or upon success. However, saving and quitting will not allow our shell shards to be restored. This could be a problem for Steel Soul players, but personally, I only needed the one try for all memories when using the Plasmium Architect build. For this first memory, we will just need to defeat Scarsinger Carmelita. After defeating Carmelita, we can pick up the Hunter's Heart. We should keep our bench here in Far Fields as we will need to return just after picking up the newly available Hidden Hunter quest at the Bellheart Wishboard. We can also take the Hero's Call quest if that is available. We will then need to return to Farfields and interact with a trap at a specific location to start a fight with Gur the Outcast. Gur hits very hard, and in fact, I think his spike traps deal 3 masks of damage. That being said, his traps are pretty easy to avoid and destroy, making the fight relatively easy. Once Gur is defeated, we'll watch out for traps as we go up to the west to collect the Grass Doll item for our quest. Before returning to Bellheart, let's destroy our remaining Void Masses for the Dark Hearts quest. I believe that we only need 5 at this point, but I'll show the location of 8. There are 4 more in the Marrow, 2 in Far Fields, and 2 in Greymoor. We can then turn in our completed quests at Bellheart to get the final 2 masks of the game. This should bring our max health to 10 masks and also get us the masked achievement. Our game completion should now be at 99%, and if you know how to reach the final boss of the game, you should be at 100% by the time you get there, and can then get the completion related achievements. I say all that now because the next few boss fights are completely optional, but might be worth doing if you have the time to spare on your playthrough. I was only at around 15 hours of game time, so I was not worried about the time limit for the speed completion achievement. That said, you can skip ahead to the next Old Hearts objective and come back to this later if time is an issue for you. The first of these optional bosses is an upgraded Trobbio. We'll need to start the Pain, Anguish, and Misery quest at the Songclave Wishboard, then go to the stage to fight Trobbio again. Defeating Trobbio will get us the Dark Mirror, which upgrades our Claw Mirror tool to the Claw Mirrors. Next, if we've received the Craw Summons item, we can go to the structure in Craw Lake. The summons will grant us entry into a special basement area, where we will eventually face off with the Crawfather. The worst part of this fight is definitely the ads. Cogflies work pretty well against those, and I bet either Volt Vessel Spears or Throwing Rings would also work well. After defeating the Crawfather, we can get the Craw Memento, then go upstairs for the Crawbell. The Crawbell can be installed outside of the Bell Home at our earliest convenience. It will then passively generate rosaries and shell shards over time. As far as I know though, this is not required for 100% completion. Finally, I wanted to go complete the Hero's Call quest for the corresponding achievement, and used a Shaman Crest build to do it. For that, we'll go to the Blasted Steps Bellway, then move down and west to where we obtained the Magnetite Dice. Upon our arrival, we will find Lost Garmond. Defeating him will get us the Hero's Call achievement as well as the Hero's Memento. Now let's get back to the main Act 3 objective, which requires collecting 2 more old hearts. Since we freed the Green Prince in Act 2, there are actually 3 more old hearts that we can collect at this point. Again, we only need 2 more to complete the game. I'll be covering all 3, but you can do just 2 of them if you want. To start, let's go east of Craw Lake, into a new region known as Verdania. The Verdania map, which is the final map of the game, is east of the Green Prince, down a hidden passageway, and near a bench. Obtaining all maps in the game will unlock the Cartographer achievement. I'm going to use the Plasmium Architect build for this memory. Once ready, we can play the Elegy of the Deep near Green Prince to enter his memory. This memory is a bit more complicated and requires us to collect a series of memory fragments before we are able to challenge the final boss. We'll move all the way east for the first of these, which can be obtained by breaking a statue, then collect a series of orbs in order and within a set amount of time. We'll then go back west a short distance and platform up some green orbs to reach the Upper East Passage. This leads to a lake where we will need to platform around to reach 3 different pressure plates, with each raising up a fountain when activated. After raising all 3 fountains, we can return to the bottom center of the lake to inspect a new structure, then collect 5 total memory fragments. We'll then platform our way back to the previous vertical chamber and go to the top for another memory fragment. After grabbing that, we'll go through a new passage to the west, then keep moving that way until we enter an arena where multiple enemies must be defeated. Moving further west, we'll stand on a pressure plate to open a gate, then go through the passage down to the west. We can then collect another 2 memory fragments as we make our way to the chamber of the Pale Stag. I'm skipping a good chunk of this boss fight because it's just kind of slow and boring. Cog flies can definitely speed it up though. Without tools, our only real viable strategy is to clawline the Pale Stag while avoiding its projectile attacks. Once defeated, the Pale Stag will burst into 5 more memory fragments, which should be enough to unlock the final boss. We'll move down and west out of here, then go through the eastern passage we opened up a bit earlier. There is 1 more memory fragment that we can grab on our way up to the Green Prince's home, which should now actually be there for us to enter. I do believe there are more memory fragments available to collect, and part of me wonders what happens, if anything, for collecting all of them. It's not necessary though, and we can just go find the Green Prince, then challenge him to a fight. This battle works similarly to the Cogwork Dancers fight, and they have some new moves that are harder to avoid. The main one is a spinning tornado of sorts, and it took me a little while to get down the proper technique to avoid being hit by it. Upon defeating the Green Prince, we can collect the Conjoined Heart. The third old heart that we can get is up at the Coral Tower in the Sands of Karak. We already opened up the path to this destination back in Act 2 when getting the Conch Cutter tool. This time we'll want to rest at the nearby bench, then play Elegy of the Deep to enter the memory. Out of all the memory challenges, this one is where the Plasmium Architect build shines the brightest. We'll need to fight our way up the tower, going through 4 arenas where multiple waves of enemies must be defeated. Going in fully stocked with shell shards and the Architect Crest ensures that we have enough tools to last, and the regenerating health ensures that we can start each arena at max health. After the 3rd arena and before the 4th, we can drop a large red spike to open up a shortcut back to the start. If we happen to fail in the 4th arena or against the final boss, we can then just Silk Soar up this shortcut on return visits to skip the first 3 arena battles. After completing the 4th arena, we'll then need to Silk Soar up to the final chamber, where Crust King Khan must be defeated. Upon our victory, we can collect the Encrusted Heart. We now have 3 hearts, which is enough to complete the Old Hearts quest, but we can still go get the 4th heart if we want, and also for another achievement. For that, we'll first need to reach a new location by going to the Grand Gate. If you've never taken the elevator down to the Underworks, you can do just that. However, if we have taken the elevator down before, then we will need to use Silk Soar to access a maintenance route to the shaft below. Once there, we can break through a wall on the west side of the elevator shaft, then clear some vines away so that we can go rest at the bench in the Underworks and quickly get back to the new area. We'll then need to move through a brief platforming section, unlock a shortcut, and challenge Seth before reaching the final Old Hearts boss. Seth is definitely a tough opponent, so I ended up burning through some shell shards to ensure my victory in Steel Soul mode. We can then heal and top off our shell shards if needed, and move into the western structure. We'll need to play Elegy of the Deep once more before facing off with Nihileth. After defeating Nihileth, we can claim the Pollen Heart, then return to the Shamans near Bone Bottom. We need to speak with them multiple times, then sit on the nearby bench to begin a ritual. This will bring us to the Red Memory, where we need to complete a series of platforming sections as we relive key moments in Hornet's life. Once we've relived all our most important memories, we will unlock the Everbloom, which wards us against the silk draining effects of void damage. This should also be the last upgrade required for our completion percentage to tick up to 100%, meaning that we are now able to get completion-related achievements when beating the final boss. To that end, we'll return to Ballo in Deep Docks near the diving bell, then use the newly reinforced bell to return to the Abyss. Here's the build I used for the final boss. To start that fight, we'll go to the bottom bench in the Abyss, then perform a last dive through the void. Following an epic cutscene, we'll need to face off with Lost Lace. This is probably the hardest fight in the game, at least it was for me. If you do opt to use the Plasmium Architect Crest build, know that you need to activate the plasmified health part while actually in the fight. If you do it before starting the fight, it will be wiped away after you enter the arena. I found it preferable to just use the Wanderer Crest and master the mechanics of the fight. It's a very tough fight, but also a fair and fun one in my opinion. Clawline attacks and needle pogos are super useful, as are straight attacks from the side. After the first phase, we'll need to avoid 2 waves of Abyss tendrils, and I found jumping up and off the side walls of the arena to help a lot with this. We will then start phase 2 of the fight, which is similar to the first, but has Lace chaining together multiple moves before opportunities for us to attack are finally presented. She also will occasionally leave the arena, and 2 closely grouped waves of Abyss tendrils will sweep through. Lace also has one new area attack move reminiscent of the one we saw her use in previous fights. This time though, there are multiple circles that we must avoid, and if we are caught in any of them, we will take 3 masks of damage. Once Phase 2 is over, we will need to wait a moment, then pick up an unconscious Lace before performing a super jump to escape the abyss. Following the normal true ending, we will get an additional cutscene with Mr. Mushroom, followed by a screen saying to be continued. If you followed all 3 parts of this series to the letter, you should get both the Sister of the Void and Passing of the Age endings and achievements, along with achievements for completion and speed completion, assuming the game was completed in under 30 hours. Furthermore, if you were following this for your Steel Soul playthrough, then you will also get the Steel Heart achievement at this point. The only achievements you might not have are Speedrunner, which requires skipping several upgrades to beat the game in Act 2 and in under 5 hours, along with the True Hunter achievement, which I think I'll cover in a separate video, along with other optional and non-achievement related content that can be done after completing Act 3, such as getting all mementos. Until then, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day if you're here today, have a great Saturday, and a great weekend. And as always, thanks for watching.